Okay, guys, I am super excited to have you join me today. I was super enjoying some sunshine. I am getting ready for cold weather to get away, for spring to come here, and that got me in spring fever, and I wanted to do some flowers. We wanted to bring spring inside and maybe last a little longer than a regular bouquet of flowers would be. So we're going to be doing some fun daisies, and this one just is fun, it's cheerful, it's bright, it makes me happy, and I hope that you're happy with me while we do this. We're going to go through, we don't need that many materials. We're going to use one big flat brush to get in our background. This is the big one. No, actually, guys, I think I might have done the medium one. If either one you can use, the reason I thought I might have actually done the medium one, a little bit smaller, is right up here at the top, just to be able to control it in that smaller section. But either one would be fine. And then you will need a medium round brush. So something that gets to a point. The medium one has a little more thickness. As I push down, it kind of widens, right? So it's not as skinny as a fine one. So those are the only brushes that we need. And for this painting, we're going to be using some white, some blue, and some yellow. Those are the only colors that we're using. Now people will go, you got green in there. Well, we're going to mix our green. That's our blue and our yellow together. So we'll mix that. So we're going to go ahead and start out with a decent amount of white on our plate. Got my plate right here. And I'm going to put some blue out. Don't need as much blue. Blue is a strong, strong color. We can always put out more if we need to. So I've got some blue on my plate. I've got some white. And we'll start with that because we're just going to do the background first, which is going to be different variations of this blue. We're going to start with it's darker, and then we'll work our way to make it lighter. So that's just the very first step.
Hey, Tiff. I think I'm using the canvas that I painted over white. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move the example over and then turn that. Let's see, so we can still see our example, but then you can see me painting. Okay, so we've got our brush. Get that wet. Our brush always wants to be nice and moist, right? Dip it in the water, drag off the edge. And the first thing I'm going to do is the motion of this is not going to be straight back and forth. It's like smiley faces. So think in your mind, in the shape is going to be like smiley faces the whole time. It's going to be going up and down and up and down. So we're going to start with just a small little smiley face of just straight blue. Just our straight blue. All right, so I'm going to grab some blue right here in the center. It's like a tiny little, like a little smiley face of blue. I'm just going to start first with that. See that? So we're just
straight blue. What kind of brush are you using? Straight blue?
Yep, straight blue, and this is my medium flat brush.
Okay, straight blue. It's a smiley face right in the center.
Yep, right in the center. So we're going to start just with that, and then I've already got blue on my brush. I'm going to go ahead and start grabbing some white. Right? I'm going to grab some white to go along with a little bit of blue. And now I'm going to go beside it and start blending a lighter blue and start going out. You see how this is just did some blue with some white, and now it's a lighter blue. And I'm going to still keep doing this smiley face shape. See how I'm still curving? It's a nice curve right there. I'm going to keep curving. Now I'm going to grab some more white, maybe a little tiny bit of blue. Remember that blue is really strong, and we're trying to get it to get lighter and lighter as we get farther away from that one. So, and grabbing a decent amount of white will also let us be able to move that paint around. I'm going to go and grab just white now. Just white with that little bit of blue that's still on my brush. As you can see, I'm starting to get, well, I can probably grab a little more blue. That's okay. Sometimes if you go, oh, that got a little lighter than I wanted to, you can still go back right over it with a little bit of the blue that you have. You can see I'm still doing the same smiley face stroke, right? You see that? And so every time I'm going out, I haven't rinsed my brush at all. Haven't rinsed it at all. And I'm just bringing that blue down. If I wanted to make sure that I had still a little more dark blue, I can grab just some of the blue on my brush, just a little bit, and just kind of, the way that you blend, the way that it makes it look like it's going, you see how I'm actually keep going over and over. There's sometimes where we've done paintings where I say, don't overmix, it'll just kind of blend it all in one thing. This is where we can keep mixing and keep stroking over it with our brush to really blend in the color so that we're not seeing streaks as much. We're just seeing the change in the shade of the color. So you can see that. So then I'm going to grab some more blue and a lot more white, because again, as I'm getting farther down, I want it to get lighter and lighter, right? Lighter, lighter, lighter. Grab some more white, just white on my brush that already has blue. And I'm gonna keep doing this. Smiley face shape.
So are we going up?
So we're gonna just keep going all the way down as it gets lighter and lighter. I'm using the blue that's still just in the brush just to go all the way down, just to keep this light sky blue, and it's darker up at the top. Again, if there's any parts where you felt like it got a little too light for you, you know, there's some times where I'm like, oh, that went a little too light. You can go right back in with some of your blue and your white, right? Look at this. So I can go right back in and start to blend in. The way to blend with acrylics is to move quickly because it does dry so quickly. There are other mediums that dry a lot slower, like oils. Oils take a long time to dry, but you have a lot more time to be able to manipulate them, kind of blend them, move them out. There's a lot of famous portraits that we know about that are done with oils. It also takes months for them to dry. I don't want to wait months for this painting. I'm sure you don't either. So I know that if I get a decent amount of paint and I come here and I just start going really fast, I can get that same blending. Look at that same blending before it starts. If you start to notice it starts to get sticky, it's already starting to dry. That's how quick sometimes acrylic paint will dry. So sometimes it's just about going very fast to get that to blend in. All right, so like I said, we're going to be doing some land down here at the bottom part. So you can bring your sky all the way down, or if you want to, you don't have to go all the way, but you will have to make sure that you do cover up any white parts that you leave. So if you would feel more confident to just go ahead and finish it all the way out. Also, if you're the kind of person that likes to hang this without framing it and you want to paint the edges, this is where you can mix any shade of blue that you really like that we're using, and just go and follow all the way over your edges. That is always a great way to finish that. So kind of a medium blue. Okay, that'll do. That'll do. Here. I'm gonna keep seeing spots. I'm gonna keep going back and blending. So I better just get it to where it's okay. It's not perfect. It's a sky. Maybe those are clouds going by. All of it's good. So, like I said, if you want to blend like a medium blue for the edges and then just go on, that will blend in really nicely. All right, so we've got the background in, and I went ahead and did all 4 of my edges of my canvas just to go ahead and finish that up while I have these colors. And it's time to actually get out our other color. We need to get out some yellow onto our plate, because now we're actually going to be mixing some green. So, got some yellow right there. Still have a decent amount of white, although I probably will be adding some more white later, maybe even some fresh clean white, since I've got a lot of blue on this. I still have some blue. When we mix our blue and our yellow, we're going to use less blue than yellow when we're making a green, because blue, again, is a very strong pigment. Now we're still going to be using our flat brush, and what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be mixing kind of a teal green color to do for the grass, kind of, or the land area. So if you can see on this one, there's kind of a land that kind of does that same smiley shape that we did. And that's kind of in the background right here. What we're going to do is we're going to be laying that out. So I'm going to come over here and I want to mix. I'm going to be mixing my blue with some yellow and kind of making, it's okay to be a little bit of a darker color. So I've got blue right here. I'm going to grab some yellow. See, I'm grabbing from the edge. So I'm going to leave that side clean, and I'm just grabbing on this side over here. I'm going to come over here and start to mix. And I'm going to give myself kind of this color, maybe a little more blue. And I think I want to grab a little bit of white. Now here's the thing, if I keep mixing and mixing, I'm going to put all the paint right here on my plate, and I don't want the paint to be on the plate. I made that too light. See, that can happen. We'll just grab, there we go, grab some more blue. I'm going for kind of a greenish, bluish color. It's, again, it's in the background. There's no exact, as long as it's just kind of a green mix, but not a light green. We want a bit of it darker green. Okay, so that's good. All right, again, don't paint your plate. We're going to paint our canvas. So don't worry too much about mixing the perfect color. All right, we want to get it on our canvas. So one of the ways I want to make sure that I kind of have them even, right?
Tiff, what brush are you using?
I'm still using the flat brush.
And you just made a green.
I just made a green. Yeah, kind of a darker teal, like a darker teal green.
Okay. All right.
And I am going to, right now, I'm going to look at either side, and I'm going to, I want to make sure that they kind of come up at the same height. So I'm going to kind of mark kind of right here, and look, that's about a hand, my hand all the way up there. I can put my hand, all four of my fingers. I'll do that on here on the other side. I'll mark that. And so now I'm going to swoop it down, right? It gets down low near here in the middle, and then it's going to go right back up to that other point. As you can see, so we've got a lot less right down here. I can only get, ooh, maybe 1 finger, maybe 2 fingers, and this is 4 fingers high over here. And then I'm gonna fill that in. With the green kind of color. It's kind of a greenish teal. Again, it's nothing to really fully worry about the exact color of this. It's a background color still for us. It's a background color. But it does give some anchor to let us know where the ground is, right? It's always nice to know where the ground is. So that's one of also the nice things to use this flat brush still is that you can turn it to its side and use the wider point to be able to get all of the color in. Oh, if you do that, then you can just, see, I made a little mistake. I did that and my brush slipped. So what you can do, just make your whole thing a little bit wider and taller and then just fill it in. And then it just covers it all. So it's fine. I make oopses too, all the time. So just fill that in. I do want to make the edge not have white bubbles and stuff, but it's not perfect. There we go. If you want to wrap, this is where if you want to wrap the green just on that bottom edge, you can do that, like the ground. If the ground is wrapping around right there, that's kind of neat sometimes. It gives an illusion as you're coming around the painting that the painting is going around, following the canvas, falling off the canvas almost. There we go. Awesome. And I'm going to rinse out this brush really well. We are done using this brush. So I'm going to make sure and rinse it out very, very, very well so that it will not harden with paint inside of it. So as you can see, all of our shapes are still in this smiley face, everything. It gives a very interesting perspective when you do this kind of shape. Instead of everything being straight, it's almost like things are curving towards you. Almost like a fisheye perspective. And we are painting that. So we are the ones that have to put the shape in. All right, so we have the land in, and that is just kind of the anchored base. And now we're going to switch brushes. We're going to pick up now more of a medium round brush. So round brush that comes to a point, right? When I push it down, it kind of gets a little bit wider. If I keep it nice and gentle, I can still use the tip and do some more skinnier work. So this is going to be a technique of a flicking of doing some grass. So in order to get grass, that's the next thing that we're doing, get grass to kind of have that pointy edge at the top. If I take my brush and I push it and I keep it down the whole way, it's going to stay the same width the whole way. The trick with doing this is that we're going to push down, and then as we get near the end, we're going to flick it up, and it's just going to get to where just the very tip of the brush is touching the canvas, and it kind of flicks, and that will leave us with more of a grass shape. So we can use our plate to do a quick practice, right? So I'm going to mix some green. I'm going to take some blue, and I'm going to come over here and get a decent amount of yellow. So I want a nice little grassy green color. All right. So I've got a grassy green. I'm going to come here. Yeah.
I just use my straight up green. That's okay. I don't have to mix another color, right? It's gonna be all the same green.
Yes, it'll be fine.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna shift some. We might make it a little bit lighter green, so we may shift some by adding a little more yellow to it, even a little bit of white, just to have some variant colors of green. But if you want to just shift your green that you start with, that's fine.
Should I be shifting it now for the grass or later?
Later, we're gonna start darker,
Okay.
and then we'll work out later.
Okay. Okay. I'm just using my straight green. Okay.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So we're going to, on our plate, I'm going to demonstrate. So I'm going to push, I'm going to start down here, push, pull it up, and then as I get to the top, I kind of flick it up. Do you see how it got skinny at the top? So I'm going to push, pull it up, and then I kind of flick at the end. So this is the motion. If I just push down the whole way, I'm going to have very fat, it'll look like worm grass. Like, I don't know, gummy worms? I don't know. But this little technique, if we push down and then we flick at the very end and we kind of pull away from it, we'll be able to start doing grass. So that's the thing. Don't keep your brush all the way down the whole time, okay? You're gonna, as you get near the end, gonna pull it up, okay? So you can practice a couple times there on your plate, but sometimes you're gonna just go for it. This is our back, like the farther away grass, so it's okay if it's not perfect. We will be doing another layer of grass that will cover it up. So this is gonna be more of a darker green color. I will also say sometimes if your paint is like mine is starting to dry out a little bit, adding just a little bit, a tiny little bit of water to make sure that it flows well on my canvas is very handy. And I'm gonna come down here. We're gonna start right here at the kind of the valley part, the lowest part. And these pieces of grass are going to be shorter. These over here are gonna be longer. It's just going along with our whole theme that everything is kind of bending and curving, right? And even the grass is going to bend and curve to the way that we're seeing the world. So I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna start flicking little grass, which doesn't go any higher for me than about my 2 fingers or so. And I'm gonna start, they look very lonely right now, but we're gonna add more. So we're just gonna kind of flick, flick. Some are gonna kind of go. Now, as you see, they'll start to, it'll look like it's starting to dry out. Go and get more paint. As soon as it starts to look very see-through, which grass is not see-through, if it starts to look see-through, just get more paint. Or if you need to add a little moisture to your brush to help it. So there's some shorter grasses, and they don't all have to go straight up. Some of them can kind of go a little sideways a little bit, but it is mainly the straight up and down grass that's in the yard, right? The one that will have to be cut. Now I'm going to start, and these grasses are going to be a little bit taller and they're going to lean. So they're starting from this ground, and since this ground is curved up, this grass is going to lean this way. This grass on this side, it's going to lean the other way. So it'll lean, more paint. You see how I'm reaching for paint too. So now these are going to lean in this way. Flick, and push it down, and flick and flick. And grab some more paint, grabbing paint. So as I'm going up here, these are going to start getting longer and longer. Also, if you notice, if your paint is starting to travel down your brush, we don't paint with our brush all the way down here. This is a tough thing. So what I can do is I can take my brush, I can twirl it and get all that extra paint that's trying to travel up my brush, get that back on my plate, and then I can go back and scoop it up with the tip of my brush, which is what we paint with, right? We don't need the paint all the way traveling down. So then I can just go and get it back on the tip of my brush to be able to paint again. So this is also just our first layer of grass. As we keep going, we're going to be adding more and more. So we're going to keep doing grass right like this, filling it in. I'm going to come down here and make sure that it's not all going to start from the top here. We're going to also make sure that the grass is coming from different parts of the ground, right? And again, my paint seems to be drying out, so adding a little bit of moisture to help that flow better is what I'm doing. I'm going in, I'm adding just a little bit of water to mine. And again, this is also just kind of the first layer. All right. So these are also kind of the distant leaves as well, so they can be, there we go, where we don't see them as well. All right. Next thing I'm going to do, I was about to go rinse my brush. I don't need to rinse my brush. We're still using green. We're going to just make a lighter green and just start adding in another layer of grass. As you can see, we're just going to be layering lots.
Miss Tiffany.
Yes.
So we just
So yes, we're going to mix a lighter green. A lighter green can be mixed by adding a lot more yellow, and we're going to even add just a tiny touch of white. If we add too much white, it will start to kind of wash it out. So again, adding more yellow so we get kind of this spring green. You see how this is the other color I was using for the green, and it's darker. This one, I've added a little touch of white and a decent amount of yellow. And we'll see, I'm going to do my first stroke. I'm going to see if I can tell the difference. If I can't tell the difference, I may come back and lighten it even a little bit more just so that it stands out. So this is going to be another layer of grass, and now it's like the spring green layered over top, and these are going to definitely be seen a lot more down on our lighter or our dark ground. So these, can you see how there's those lighter ones are kind of going in now? Just flicking those in, giving them new places to start. Just filling that in. There we go. All right, so I'm just going, we're just going right back over. It's not going to be maybe as much as the ones before, but we're just layering back in some more grass. And it starts to fill in, right? Look at that. Maybe you have some that are kind of peeking through some of those other spots, right? So maybe I've got this lighter spot right here. I can kind of make sure the grass is peeking through. And our grass does cover a lot of that ground color that we did. So now you can kind of see different spots. Go. I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm gonna rinse my brush. We're gonna get ready for our flowers. Start adding the daisies. All right, so we've got our grass in, and we've got those two different colors of grass, so that gives some variance. And we're going to start putting in the base parts of our flowers. The first thing we're going to actually do is the center of the flower, and we're going to kind of call them a button. They're kind of a button shape. They're going to be flat on the bottom and rounded at the top. And what we're actually going to do first is we're going to use just straight white. The reason we're going to do white is we want to go back later on and add yellow to it. And yellow, if we try to just do straight yellow over top of the green or over top of the blue, it's not a strong enough color to do that. By giving it a white base, when we go back, the yellow will be able to pop and really be able to see. So this part that we're painting will look silly white, but it'll be yellow later. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go in, and I need just clean white. So if you don't have any white that you can get to that's clean, right, that's just straight white, you may need to put out some more white. All right, so we're going to go through and just start putting in some of these little, what I'm going to call buttons. And I'm going to start, so I'm looking at my example. You can see all the different ones that there are. I'm going to just do one right here, and I'll do an example for you and show you what we're going to do. So it's going to come across straight, right? Like a little line right there. And then it's going to, I'm going to round the top and fill that in. So it looks like a little half circle. It's got a flat bottom, and it's rounded on the top. And so when I call a button, that's what that is. So we're going to do them, and we're going to kind of space them out, because if you see, if we put them right beside each other, you're not going to have room for the petals. So this is going to give us some space. We're going to see, you know, okay, maybe the next one I do could be over here, right? That would give a decent amount of space. And we're still going to have the flowers kind of leaning towards each other as well. So there's another button. See, it's a half, it's flat on the bottom and curved on the top. All right, let's see, where's another one we can do? Let's do one right here, since I'm right here over on this side already. I'll do another little line, curve on the top, fill it in, little button. All right, let's see, I'll do one down here. So I'll do another little line, curved on the top. So right now they look kind of like little floating white, I don't know, space, you know, saucers, I don't know. Okay, we'll do another one, except this time. So if you see, this one is angled, it's tilted towards that way. You see how it's kind of tilted? This one, I'm going to do the line this way. You see how that's tilted that way? Towards our center. Remember, everything is kind of leaning towards the center of this painting. And I'm going to do the curve on top like that. Okay. All right, we're going to still do some more little buttons. Let's do one up here, curved at the top. If yours are not exactly where mine are, but they're still spaced out enough, you want to make sure that we still have our room for petals later. I'll do another one this way and curved. Do not even worry about, we're going to add the stems in just a little bit, which will be fine. So it doesn't matter where you're putting them, the stem will reach it, because you're going to put the stem in after. Okay, do one right there. Maybe we're gonna actually do some on top of the grass as well. Now the ones that are like down on the grass are actually gonna be larger than the ones that are up in the sky. Because we're gonna say that these are closer to us. So if they're larger, so look at this one. This is a big button right down here. This is a larger daisy button because that's going to be a closer daisy. This one right here, this one's going to be nice and big. Look at this one. So that's going to be a larger daisy. It'll also be nice because it will help us kind of cover up if you were not liking any of your grass. This is where we can cover up some of that, and it just kind of goes away behind a nice pretty little daisy. I just got accidentally into some wet green paint, so I'm going to clean my brush and go back and try to get some clean white again. Let's see, I'm gonna do another one. Let's see, let's do another one right down here. Get a little bit bigger. And then maybe, let's see, one more. One more right there, that'll work. Okay, yeah, there's one more. One more, we can have a little one right here. Okay. All right, it looks really weird right now. It looks very strange. It's a bunch of white floating things in the sky. That is okay. That is absolutely okay. So I'm gonna rinse my brush out. So the next thing, it seems kind of silly, is the next thing we're actually going to do are some stems. The stems are going to be where we're just going to mix up another green and just do some very faint little lines from the buttons down in some areas, okay? So we're just going to still take this round brush that we have, and we're going to go back to kind of a medium green that we already had mixed. If you don't, you can go ahead and grab that again. And I want to do just some skinny little light lines for especially these daisies that are kind of up in the air. The ones that are on the ground, they don't need stems that we're gonna add because they're already kind of right there on the ground. But we're gonna do just some simple little stems to connect them. So for this one, we're going to say that here's a nice little stem that's going there, just a little line coming from that button. And then this one is going to connect right there. Just something very simple. Those two that I had them kind of closer together. This one is going to just have a nice little line. Again with
What
just
color are you using?
what?
What color are you using?
We're using the green. We're just still doing a green like we did with the grass. It's still just another green.
Dark green or light green? Okay.
We can do kind of more of a dark green. Yeah.
No. Dark green. What's the green? Okay. No.
So this one, maybe I'm gonna go down with this one, and this one that I angled, I'm gonna just attach it right there. And in order to get skinnier lines, you just do lighter pressure. So if you really want those really, really skinnier lines, it's just going very gentle. We're gonna go back and add a couple of little leaves at the end, but that's pretty much all we're gonna do. We're just doing a couple of little lines right there for stems. The trick is, the reason to do that now is because it's harder to go back and try to put it back up underneath the petals. We don't want to be fighting and accidentally going over our petals. We want the petals to be laying over top of it. So it's like we're just putting in that background of the stem before we do the petals. Speaking of petals, my white is getting very low on my plate, so I'm going to grab some more because white is, we're going to use white again, but this one is actually going to be for the white petals. While we're letting our centers dry, we're going to actually go in and do the petals. And the petals are fun. Once you get the motion of it, they're actually very easy. I promise they're not as scary. That's one of the reasons we're also using this brush, because it gives us the chance, it gives us a fun shape. So when I push this down, it kind of gives me a rounded shape when I push and I pull. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to get a decent amount of paint actually on my brush. So it looks like I've got a decent amount. So it's going to be all about, so the petals are attached to the flat part of our buttons, only the flat part. So we're not going all the way around it. We're only going to be going down from that flat part. And it's just going to kind of go, if you're in the center of the button, it's going to go down. If you're on the left side, it's going to go to the left. And if it's on the right side, you're going to go to the right. So let me show you. Here we go. So let's start with this one right here. So I'm going to start on the edge here. I'm going to push my brush and then I'm going to pull it down, push and pull, push and pull. Nope, I'm still doing that push and pull, push and pull. You can kind of push it down to make it wider. Here we go. I kind of had that little one, but it's okay. I'll fix that. So yeah, being able to push down, it makes a wider thing than what we were trying to do with our grass, right? So I'm going to push this and kind of pull it down. Pull it, pull, pull. You can kind of see I have those. And see how these are rounded this way, this kind of comes down, and then this rounds the other way, all attached to the flat bottom part of the button. So I'll go here, I'm gonna pull it down, pull it down. So it's, instead of when we were flicking up with the grass, this time we're pushing and pulling it away. Pulling it away. And the petal size, it depends on what size the button is. If it's a smaller button, I can do smaller petals, right? I did little small petals on that one. For a larger button down here, look at this one. I'm gonna really get some paint on here. So I'm gonna push and really do a big petal. Really push and pull that, push that brush almost flat, and then when I pull up at the end, it gives me that little flick like we did with the grass. Oop, there we go. So there's the different petals. I don't keep going over and over it. I want to see each of those brush strokes because each of the brush strokes ends up being a petal, right? So I'm going to come here and go brush stroke. And they don't touch at the ends. There we go. There's another one. So this one has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals on that one. This one has about 6 or 7. So for each of these buttons that we did, we just go around and just keep pulling. I'm gonna have to fix this button. That's the one that got mixed up with green for me. See, no problem. Just go back and fix it. All right, so then, like I said, for these smaller ones, I'm going to do smaller little petals, right? And they can cross over each other a little bit. That's okay. Although we were trying to give them a little bit of space so that you could see each pretty blossom. So this is the time, this is one of the few times I don't mind having a super loaded brush of paint, because it lets me really I do kind of use the side a little bit of my bristles to be able to pull and get this shape, this petal shape. So I pull, go out. I think I've only got 2 more buttons myself. I wonder how you guys are doing, and that's good. If you're still going, I'm proud of you. If this is the first time you've ever tried to do flowers with paint, it's okay. We can do this. Although it looks like we just have a bunch of very white flowers. We still have to add our colorful centers. This is a larger button, so for me, I'm going to definitely do larger strokes. I'm really getting a bunch of paint on my brush so that I can pull. If you don't have a lot of paint, you may find that you're having trouble. Maybe you're fighting your brush a little bit because it doesn't want to smooth out as much. I'm gonna rinse my brush. I had a little oopsie with that one right there. It went a little farther, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pretend like that's added grass right there, and I'm just gonna cover that little part of white with green, and now it disappeared. There we go, see? Sometimes the best way to learn is to make a mistake and then figure out how you have to fix it. That's what I've done for many of my projects, is figure out how do you fix it. So I'm going to check in with you, see how you're doing on those petals, and then we'll be moving on to the last couple of things. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We have a field of white flowers, but actually what really makes it pop is by adding some color back to those centers. So we're going to need our yellow. Now I'm looking at my yellow. I did not do a very good job of leaving some clean yellow. If I dip into that, I'm pretty sure I might grab some green. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put just a tiny little bit of yellow out, fresh out for myself. That's just called paint management, and sometimes it's easier than others to do that. So I've got some clean yellow right there. And all we're gonna do is go back with just straight yellow, and just color just the centers that we did before. So we're not going to do the petals that we just did. We're just going to go back and color those buttons. So you're going to have to double check and make sure that you're not going onto the petals. We're just going to go and add yellow to each of our centers. So just go right back over top, and just like you're doing a coloring book, you've created a coloring book for yourself, and we're just going to color the centers with that yellow. And because we're doing yellow over this white, that's why it's really showing up. It's really popping, right? Yellow is very see-through, but because it's on white, it really shows up. That is always the trick. If you want that yellow to really pop, you might have to put it over top of some white when it comes to acrylic paint. So just color in each of those centers with yellow. There we go. Ooh, this nice big one, I'm gonna really kind of look and make sure I'm following the lines that I did before. Like I said, it's like a coloring book. Just color that in, color that in. I've got a couple more over here. Getting all yours in. And look, they really start to pop now with that color Oh, it reminds me so much of springtime. I'm so excited. Need springtime and sunshine and flowers. Makes me happy. Makes me happy. All right, I'm gonna rinse out my brush. Rinse, rinse, rinse. And we've only got 2 more details left. 2 more, that's it. And then we're done. And I'm wondering if, as we're kind of looking, you can see almost like those, see the difference between the pictures. You can look between this painting and this one, and I bet I've got some very smart people that can figure out what are our last 2 things that we're gonna do. So let me check and see. All right, now that we have the centers all in, we're gonna go and add just a couple more details. So if you were one of my smart ones, you saw that we had 2 things that were different. We are missing some leaves, and we're also missing a shine, a little bit of telling where the light is hitting our flowers. And we're gonna go back with a little bit of highlight on our flowers. We're gonna do that as the last thing because we're gonna let the centers dry just a little bit while we do some leaves. And these leaves are very small and simple, very, very simple. So I'm gonna grab some more green. If you've got some green, grab it, grab that green. It can be kind of more of a medium green. It's the same about color as the stems that you did for the flowers. And this is a very simple little leaf. It's even gonna kind of like float a little bit. It's not really attached. It's gonna give us the idea of a leaf. And it will have a just little, we're gonna push and then kind of lift off. And it's just gonna give us a little, almost like a little dot shaped with a point, because our paintbrush has a point to it. So we're almost like laying the brush down and then just lifting it back up and just doing a little tiny leaf, little floating leaf, just in a few places, and that's gonna give us just some neat little detail. So maybe I'm gonna come over here, right? And I'm gonna just press down and boop, I made a little leaf. See, it's not even attached to anything. It's just kind of floating there, right? And maybe I'll do another little leaf right there. Just a couple of them. You know, maybe I'll do a little leaf there. Maybe for that one. You know, maybe this one's got a little leaf sticking up right there. These are just the little details that our eyes like to help us break up that these are stems of these flowers and they're not more grass, right? So maybe another leaf there, maybe one right there. And
Can I see closer? I can't really see what.
So I'm kind of just pushing down and then just kind of lifting off and just doing like a little, it's almost just the shape of the tip of my brush. Just a little.
What color are we using?
What?
What color?
It's green, just more green. Any green that you have mixed, kind of a darker green.
How can I make my dandelions? So how can I make my line, but my green is attached to it?
All right, so the very, very last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna just go back and add a shine. So what we're saying is that this painting has, our light is kind of coming through the center. Everything has been pulled through the center, right? Everything is leaning towards the center. We're gonna say our light is from the center as well, which means it's gonna give a different placement of shine depending on which side of the painting that the flower is on, right? So the shine is actually just gonna be grabbing a little bit of straight white. So we're just gonna take our round brush and we're gonna get straight white on there. And we're just gonna be doing just a little, I guess I would say like a little dollop, almost like a little dash almost on part of the flower. So this flower is having the sun shine in it on its right side. So everything on this side is going to have the shine on the right side of the flower. All right. Let's see, for you guys, it's most probably the left. It's probably backwards. I'll just say from this point over, the shine is going to be over here. So I'm going to just come, I'll go on this big one so you'll be able to see. I'm just going to do a little line of white. You see that? Just a little touch of white right on that side. Here we go, there's another one. So it's just a little touch of white right on top of that. I'm not covering up the whole yellow part. In fact, I can see all of the yellow around, like the edge around it. So as I come to these smaller ones, my dot will have to be a little smaller, right? But it's still going to be on this side of the flower. On that side of the flower. Now this flower is actually kind of near the center. So we're going to say that its little shine is near the center of that flower. Right? And now all these flowers that are on this side, their shine is actually going to be where they're leaning towards the center on this side. So I'm going to come back. Again, this is just straight white. And I'm going to just, on that larger one, I can do a larger dot. On the smaller ones, I'm going to do a smaller dot and just add that little bit that's saying that it's reflecting light. And you see how everything is, if it's from this side over, all of them are on this side of the flower. And on this side, all of them are on the other side of the flower, all leaning towards each other. And now we're actually done. That was the last thing. It's always fun when you add that last little detail of highlight and you can really kind of see it all come together. It always, I will say, looks sometimes weird. You feel like, oh no, that just is so shocking that I'm only going to notice that. I promise. Walk away from your painting, come back, and you'll see how it all works together to give a cohesive look. Step away from it, see how it all looks together. Once you're up too close to a painting, sometimes you can get overwhelmed that you've overdone it. Give yourself some time to look at it and look at our beautiful daisies. So I'm so glad that you were able to join me for making some daisies, and I'll catch you on the next recording. Because this is so fun. I'm just going to keep going as long as you guys want to keep painting. All right, see you next time.